Howdy, howdy, fellow football fans, and welcome to the Far Out Football Podcast, brought to you by PTE Creative, formerly known as the ONETA Football Show. It's a new era because we are now far out, the Far Out Football Podcast. But you're here for game analysis, review, reaction, whatever you may be. So, it's time to get into those Week 1 games, and we're going to start right where the season began, in Kansas City, for Baltimore losing to Kansas City. Baltimore at Kansas City was quite an interesting game. I'm going to start every single game out with kind of a slogan, and this one was simple: still best in the world. Kansas City came to play, let me tell you that. The use of Xavier Worthy and the speed of that offense has dramatically increased and brought a completely new element to that team. You can see how effective Rashee Rice is across the middle and the gaps that can be made for Travis Kelce by having those speed elements like Xavier Worthy out there. And just imagine when you have more speed with Marquise Brown, how that team's going to play. They still had things to fix, but overall, very good game for Kansas City, and loved how the defense really stepped up in a lot of moments for Kansas City. Baltimore, on the other hand, honestly, it's not panic time for Baltimore. It was a passing issue. It wasn't a running issue. Lamar Jackson lost some weight, looks a lot more explosive. I don't mean that in a derogatory way. It's his own words. Lost a lot of weight. He looks far more explosive than he did last year, which is tremendous. His running ability is far closer to what we saw in the 2019 version MVP year of Lamar versus the 2023 version of Lamar. So there, right away, there's a lot of hope for Baltimore. Silly mistakes really cost them. They got away with even more silly mistakes. Baltimore's got to clean that up, but they're going to be completely fine. Really, really great game here. And overall, very happy. Now, before we get to game 2, I just want to take a quick pause for the cause because I have a message for all of you. Hey, you. Yeah, you. I'm talking to you. You small-time creator trying to make yourself a little better place in the world? I am too. I want to help you out. I'm a small-time creator, just trying to make my way in the world, trying to sell some art to you, trying to make some good content for you, and I know you're probably in a similar spot if you're watching a show like this. So, if you are, I want to help you out, because I want to grow just like you do. So every single show, as long as there's someone to talk about, I want to highlight a small-time creator. So, with that being said, you got to subscribe to the channel, comment in this video. If you have things to promote, whether it's an Etsy shop, a YouTube channel, a podcast of your own, hell, even a DeviantArt account. If you have something you want to promote, I want to help you out. So, subscribe to the channel, comment on this video, and I'm going to highlight you in a future video. Go check it out. I'd love to help a small-time creator because I'm one myself. It's time to team up and make our world a better place. Peace. All right, and we're back from that break, and we're going to keep going. We're going down to Sao Paulo, Brazil, and this one was tough for a Green Bay Packer fan. Slogan of this game was almost every crisis was averted. Whew, my friends, when we went down to Sao Paulo, it was rough. This was a game in which both teams looked pretty rusty. You could tell that they were still knocking off some rust early in the game. However, you could also see the potential of both teams with the explosive players that they have. Early, Jaden Reed making some big plays. Early, A.J. Brown making some big plays. Devontae Smith got in there a little bit for the Eagles. Green Bay, like I said, Jaden Reed was there. You saw a little bit from Christian Watson. But they're both played relatively sloppily in the first half. Got it together in the second half, but it was transitional football. I say almost every crisis was averted for obvious reasons. Jordan Love going down is going to be a killer for Green Bay. As someone who will be in Lambeau this coming week for the Green Bay home opener, I am not necessarily thrilled to see Jordan Love on the sideline and not in that game. All due respect to Malik Willis, I have been a supporter of his. I hope he continues to develop. I hope I see a lot from Malik Willis, but that's a lot to say coming to a game where you've been with the team for about 3 weeks. And Jordan Love was playing really, really good football last year, and outside of the rust, Jordan looked pretty darn good. There were multiple times dropped balls. He did skip a few. He didn't play tremendous, but he played pretty darn well and put the ball in a place where his receivers could succeed. I go back to every crisis was averted because that turf, we as football fans are lucky, specifically Packer fans and Eagles fans, that Jordan Love's the only one that got hurt in this game. That turf, everybody was slipping. I was so concerned for a lot of the receivers out there. These international games are great, and I'm all for them. I'm all for these teams going out and showcasing the game to different countries and different places of the world. I'm all for them, but we need to make sure they're safe. The turf there was not good, and that's the saddest part about this game is it was a good game, but a lot of it came down to who was going to be the one to slip, or who was the team that could stay upright long enough to make it work. And you saw those big physical receivers of A.J. Brown or Jaden Reed with the speed. They made it work. Saquon Barkley, once he got the longer cleats in, he torched Green Bay. A lot of issues for both teams to clean up, but it was more early game rust versus, major problems as of right now. We'll see how this all goes for Green Bay. Philly. Second game I picked wrong, so we'll see how that one goes as well. We're going to continue here, and we are going to go to the Sunday slate, to the game that nobody probably predicted correctly, New England at Cincinnati, and this was very easy. This was soup surprise here, friends. What in the fuck happened in Cincinnati is ridiculous. I saw one comment online, Cincinnati looked like a bunch of pumpkins in their all-orange uniforms. I don't think it was a pumpkin so much as they laid a fucking egg. All credit to the Patriots defense. The Patriots defense looked ready to play, which was tremendous. Cincinnati just looked bad. I don't have any way other to say it. They just looked bad. Joe Burrow did not have a good game. No usage of weapons. The Patriots did a lot to put pressure on Burrow, and he did not respond well. A couple of self-inflicted wounds here for Cincinnati. This game, Cincinnati still could have won, even as sloppy as they played, but lost fumble here, things of that nature didn't go well for them. The fact that at one time they were losing by 10 points to the Patriots is absurd. Brissett did look good, although that New England line is going to be a real problem for Brissett or Drake May if he comes in to play. But kudos, I'll give it to you right now. I predicted New England to win 2 games this year. They're already 50% of the way to my prediction because I still believe they're one of the most talent-poor teams in the league. But they showed a lot on defense to be good on, and they're just going to play stout defense and hand the ball to Ramondre Stevenson. That's what it looks like it's going to be. Kudos to them to going into Cincinnati and getting a win. Cincinnati, you got a lot to clean up. I don't know if you saw any of the post-game press conferences. There's some bad juju right now in Cincinnati. It does not look good. Jamar Chase looks incredibly frustrated. Joe Burrow looks almost shell-shocked, as if he's like, fucking weird over in Cincinnati. They got to clean it up for week 2. Kudos to New England. Prove me wrong. To a game that, frankly, was rad. Arizona at Buffalo. This was a game that was really, really enjoyable to watch. Kind of a tale of two halves. This is a telltale game about the Buffalo Bills. Buffalo showed a lot in this game. Simply put, for this one, Josh Allen says, as someone who just watched Monty Python and the Holy Grail for one of our other podcasts, the Wisco Movie Watchers podcast, had to throw that one in there. Josh Allen says, to lose in this game. He was Superman to just pull the Buffalo Bills straight out of their asses into a win. Arizona came to play. They got out to an early lead. They really showed the susceptibility of Buffalo if you can take advantage of it. The problem is you need to finish. You need to put Josh Allen into the dirt as much as possible and the biggest hole possible because he's showing he has the ability to will them into a game here. Really early lead was nice for Arizona. They couldn't put the nail in the coffin. That was a big thing for them. Kyler in the offense looked good. However, no usage whatsoever of Marvin Harrison Jr. There was a broken play Kyler missed in which he was wide open in the back of the end zone, and there was nothing for him. Kyler should have had another deep pass down to him. Kyler played relatively well. It's looking like Dortch is his kind of go-to guy with McBride. He needs to develop more chemistry with Marvin Harrison Jr. for that team to really succeed more. Overall, good showing by Arizona. Buffalo, this was a character game. They came out and they got their asses kicked early, and Josh Allen just put on the cape, said, I'm Superman, and I'm going forward. And you're coming with me, or you're not. Love that, and I also love the special teams in this game with DJ Dallas. Arizona getting that touchdown return. That was really nice to see. I'll have some more notes on that at the end of the show, but I thought this was a really fun game. Really enjoyable to watch, back and forth. Good fun. This is what football in week one's all about. This is where sloppy play can be a little bit fun to watch because it can be explosive when teams aren't ready. So that was really fun to see over in Buffalo. Righty, folks. And we're going to Jacksonville at Miami. My God. Here's what I have to say about this. Slogan of this game. The fucking Marks gave it away. The fucking Marks gave it away. Like they do. Because that is what they do in Jacksonville, man. Jacksonville was one time up. I believe it was 17. No, it was 17. Yeah, 17-7. And Miami comes back and wins this game. They gave it away. Jackson was playing pretty well, shutting down Miami for the most part, putting Tua under duress, not allowing those big yak plays that you're going to get from Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle. They were doing things right. Jacksonville was looking good. ETN's going in for the score, fumbles. That was classic. We're just going to toss this game up to the other team. Brutal, but that's what happens in Jacksonville, seemingly. They can never get out of their own fucking way, which is why I said the fucking Marks gave it away. And that is a nice nod back to the ONETA Show, the ONETA Football Show back in the day, now known as the Far Out Football Podcast. But Jacksonville gave this one away, and Miami showed a lot of character. They came out pretty static, pretty just meh. There's nothing really super dynamic about them, and then they went to work. That fumble recovery in the end zone turned this game from, oh wow, Miami's gonna have a lot of problems, to, oh, Miami's like a shark, blood in the water, they're going after it. 80 yards to Tyreek Hill, gains 14-17 when it should have been 24-7. It was all done from there. Last second field goal and all that. That was great, but it was really blood in the water. That was the big mistake here. People better watch out for Miami. You need to put them away. It's the biggest thing. I saw that in Green Bay. I saw that in the Green Bay-Philly game. I saw that in the Arizona-Buffalo game. I saw that in the Jacksonville-Miami game. I saw that in the Denver-Seattle game. Hell, saw it in Tennessee and Chicago as well. You need to put your opponent away. Green Bay looked like they were better for the most part of that game against Philly. Couldn't put them away with the field goals and missed opportunities early in the game. Second half, the Eagles dominated that game. Here, Jacksonville, same issue. You need to put your opponent away. Put the nail in the fucking coffin. Can't do it. You're not going to win these games. It's not going to work out with higher-end opponents in the NFL. Problematic there. Nice win for Miami to get, but still a lot of question marks there to worry about. All right, we're going to pull into another quick commercial break here. In doing so, I got to ask you guys, hey, small-time creator, man. Trying to make my way in the world. Got a lot of art for you to buy. And if you want to help out the channel, you should go do that. Head on over to Etsy, where we go to etsy.com/shop/PTE Creative. You can see a lot of our fun merchandise there. A lot of new football merch is up on the Etsy shop right now. Even if you're not a diehard, you can just say, yay, sports ball, or I hope both teams are having fun. But if you're a diehard, you can tell. We all agree, Dallas sucks. Or a lot of other stuff. A lot of fun merch over at ptecreative.etsy.com. Go check it out, which would be super appreciated. So go to ptecreative.etsy.com or etsy.com/shop/ptcreative. Both will work. And they'll get you over there and you get some nice merch. But we're back to it. Thank you, folks. Hope you go to the Etsy shop and do that. But we got games to cover, so let's get into it again. We're going from Jacksonville to Miami to one of the games of the day, Houston at Indianapolis. This might win game of the week for me, man. Simply put, goddamn, these two are fun to watch. God damn, these two are fun to watch. CJ Stroud and Anthony Richardson both showed a little bit of hiccups, but overall it was hero ball a lot. Anthony Richardson made so many spectacular throws and really paid off why people believe in him. Indianapolis is going to be incredibly dangerous. And Houston almost lost this game because, again, they couldn't put their opponent away. Indianapolis just would not go away. But here you had two teams back and forth, high-powered offenses going against quality defense, division game. This is the beauty of week 1 at its finest. You saw both teams were able to get pressure from time to time, but when they gave time to their opponent, it was lights out football from there. A lot of fun here in Indianapolis. It's a shame that Indy couldn't pull this game out. It's just Houston was a more talented team, frankly. Stephon Diggs made a big impact on that game, getting a few critical catches, allowing more space for Nico Collins to work on the other side. CJ Stroud looks good. He looks good and is paying off the idea that he can be an MVP this year. And that is not a crazy pick whatsoever. Good on that game. This was so much fun. I highly recommend you go watch the replay. Plus, they are currently doing condensed games on the NFL channel where you can watch the whole thing in about 40 minutes. So if you really missed this game and you just want to watch good football, this was a game to watch for you. Go check it out. I'll give a shout out to a big creator here, the NFL. Fun over there, Indianapolis and Houston. Go check it out. And we're now going to a travesty game, man. A fucking travesty game. Tennessee at Chicago. All around, this was a travesty. However, I went positive on my analysis of it. Santa comes early to Chicago. This was a fucking gift from Tennessee to Chicago. Ridiculous. In what world, in what way are you seeing a team just give it up? There's great content out there. It's so sad to watch if you're a Tennessee fan. Will Levis throws that pick. They're up 17-6, I believe. Yeah. They're up 17-6. He throws all he has to do is go down and the game shifts completely. It's in the 4th, I believe, at that time. All he has to do is just take the sack, punt the ball away, and Tennessee probably walks away with a win because Chicago is not doing well. And he throws that pick six. And you can see he's on his knees going in the clip. It is tremendous footage if you want to understand this game. Santa came early to Chicago and just said, hey, I'm just going to give you this win, because that's pretty much what Tennessee did. Caleb Williams didn't even hit 100 yards passing. He was wildly inaccurate in this one, did not play super well. I expected a lot more from Caleb. Granted, he's a rookie, I get it, but did not play super well over in Chicago today, or yesterday, I should say. He's going to get better, but of all the quarterbacks, I thought he'd be the one to come in not with a lot of nerves, and it looked like he had a ton of nerves coming in this game. Wasn't focusing, a lot of pressure being put on him at an NFL speed was very different than a college level speed. He's going to get better, but this was not the Chicago game you wanted to see if you're like, oh, I'm tuning in for Caleb Williams. Admittedly, this is one of those games I was like, oh, I'm going to watch that one. It's on my local feed. Great. And every time I'd watch Caleb, I was like, oh, okay, we got to get better. So, something to really focus on in Chicago. Tennessee, you played really good defense. You have some potential there. Just don't kick yourself in the fucking balls and you'll be fine. Like, literally, it's like you got into a chat room and tried to prank yourself with, hey, have you seen these? These nuts. Like, it was just so bad. What are you doing? Get out of your own way. And Will Levis cost you one here. There was a problem. Straight up problem. Righty, folks. We're moving on. Pittsburgh at Atlanta. This was as simple as it gets. This was week 1 ugly. Just ugly. Both offenses looked anemic, inept. Pick a negative word and just apply it here. It didn't look good. Justin Fields had a few decent moments, but had a lot of moments where you're like, ooh. This came down to 6 field goals by the Pittsburgh kicker. Like, fucking ridiculous. Kirk Cousins throwing 2 picks, not good whatsoever. Atlanta, also City of Atlanta. Sorry to call you out here. What were you doing? I know Pittsburgh always travels well as a fan base. That's just a given. But this is supposed to be the year that you're hopeful and you're excited and things are going to change. Oh my God. We're going to finally go to the playoffs. We finally have a functional team. Pittsburgh fans dominated. Dominated that stadium, and it was far more of a Pittsburgh home game than it was an Atlanta home game. And there was virtually no energy on the Falcons side of the ball. It was kind of crazy to watch. Pittsburgh did not look good on offense whatsoever. That prediction held true. They moved the ball a little bit from time to time, but it was far more Atlanta's self-inflicted wounds, in my opinion. Outside of one drive, Atlanta didn't look good pretty much at all. This is fucking ugly to watch. This is the kind of week one that people worry about when you're not getting a lot of preseason action, when you're not getting... This is what happens in week one when players are not ready to play. That's what this looked like. And it was two teams that Pittsburgh believes they're better than they are, and they showed that they can rise to the occasion, and Atlanta believes they're better than they are, and they couldn't. Kirk Cousins does not look good. It's not panic time with Kirk Cousins, but if he continues to play like this for 4 or 6 weeks, it is panic time for Kirk Cousins. I don't think that's going to happen. I think Kirk's going to rally and get behind, but hopefully that injury's fully healed and he's confident to play. We'll see how it goes. Moving on here, folks. Minnesota at New York, the New York Giants. Really interesting game here for me. I see Sam Darnold highlighted here. This was Bizarro World. Straight up. The real slogan I have for this one is Daniel Jones, Bizarro quarterback. But same thing. Sam Darnold, Bizarro World. New York started off really hot on defense and just couldn't hold it up because their offense could not do anything. Daniel Jones was a huge problem here. I saw this horrible statistic that I did not like seeing, especially for one of our friends at the show, Brandon Hollings. Is a huge Giants fan. It hurt him and it hurts me because I have a small affection for that team due to my relationship with him and his family. But Daniel Jones has thrown more touchdowns to the opposition than he has to his own team since signing that deal. He's played limited football, so it's a ridiculous statistic, but it's something to merit that you shouldn't have that many pick sixes versus touchdowns to yourself. That's problematic. If this pattern continues, Daniel Jones has no hope of staying in New York. Straight up. Minnesota, on the other hand, picked well with Sam Darnold in this offense. Not every game is going to have an offense opposite you that can't do anything and forces that defense to break down because they're out there so often against quality players. But, having said that, Sam Darnold, there were moments where he was still Sam Darnold, but he was a little bit more decisive. Couple throws thread down there, especially there was one to Jordan Addison right down the pipe. That was beautiful. He played generally pretty well. And Minnesota might not be dead in the water like a lot of people, myself included, thought they might be. Kudos to them. They played a lot better. But Bizarro World quarterbacking can do that to you sometimes. So we'll see if that pattern continues. Anyway, as we move from New York, we're going down south to the Mercedes-Benz Superdome. The New Orleans Saints hosting the Carolina Panthers. Slogan for this one, this is going to be a really quick recap here, guys. New Orleans refuses to die, but Carolina is all too happy to. I have no long-term faith for the New Orleans Saints. I have made that abundantly clear. They must have heard me and said, fuck you, we're still good, because they came out to play a lot of deep threats. However, even still when they played well, they still screwed me over because Chris Olave got 2 catches for 11 yards and I got nothing fantasy-wise. But that, who really cares about fantasy football? Other teams' fantasy football. It's just a fun little note. Carolina. If this is a reflection of where Carolina is as a team, I understand it's only week 1. If this is what it is, Bryce Young's career, A, is doomed to fail, and B, this team's going to be in the dirt for 5 to 10 years. And it hurts me especially because I do have a small spot for Carolina. Again, that Hollings family tie, and Brandon's wife Laura is a huge Panthers fan. I love Bryce Young, loved him coming out. Very bullish on him coming out of college. I really like Bryce Young. But this is sad to watch in Carolina. They couldn't protect Bryce, and then when Bryce needed to do blitz pickup, he failed. Straight up. And he played like a rookie that was way too excited. Couple bad overthrow interceptions where he made the right read. He was throwing a difficult pass, but I would rather you almost underthrow it than into the dirt than overthrow with a safety behind. And you could argue those even weren't the right reads at times with some of the coverages, but he was making difficult decisions. I'm not trying to defend him too much outside. He wasn't protected well. The running game was not anywhere near good in Carolina. The offensive line, I guess theoretically by statistical analysis, is a little bit better, but still a lot of duress on Bryce Young. But he did not adjust his protections well enough. I would highly suggest if I were coaching that team, you need to coach Bryce right now like Tua, in that every ball has to come out super fast. You need to get that ball out in under 2 seconds all the time. Quick screens, quick ins, rocket ins, things of that nature, quick breaking out routes, and then play through with some power football and hope for some play action passes downfield to get you some bigger plays or hopefully a broken tackle or some yak. This is not Dave Canales. I continually, when watching pieces of this game and then watching the recap of this game, continually watched long developing plays that this team's not capable of doing. Carolina needs a lot of help. It's sad, but they need a lot of help. And frankly, they just want to die, it looks like it. And New Orleans put them out of their misery. So kudos to New Orleans for proving me wrong. Carolina, sorry. It's going to be a long season. It's going to be a really long season. But that's not all bad. Because as long as the season is, we got plenty of content to fill for you. So if you want to go over PT Creative, you can get all kinds of cool content. Our new weekly release schedule is up and functioning. We're not going daily, but we're going damn close. Head on over to PTE Creative. Monday and Thursday, you're going to get Far Out Football Podcast, where Mondays, all reactions to the games. Thursdays, it's previews. We're going to have some fun in there as well. Tuesday, the ONETA Show continues. A lot of fun rotating topics there. We're going to be doing a rankings episode on tomorrow's show, which will be fun. Wednesday, the Pokemon Bliss Oblivion Project continues with new Pokemon being released. Friday, you're going to get a lot of Pokemon card pack openings and specials there on Friday. A little bit easier, more leisurely Friday fun for you. And Saturday, you're going to get some nice movie recs on the Wisco Movie Watchers podcast. There you can find myself and Dylan, my co-host Dylan Davies, as we go over a lot of fun movies of yesteryear, get you ready for Halloween season as well, as we're getting towards that horror movie season. It's going to be a lot of fun, so go check us out there. And this week we are covering, of all things, Monty Python and the Holy Grail as part of our Cult Classic series. So head on over to PTE Creative. You can find all of our lovely content over there, including the Far Out Football Podcast that you're watching or listening to right now. Thank you guys for checking out that content when you do. We appreciate it, but we got more games to go to, so let's go. Let's get done. We head over from the travesty that was the Carolina Panthers at New Orleans Saints, and we go to another game that was just fucking wild, and that was Denver Broncos at the Seattle Seahawks. Wild game here, folks. Ridiculously wild game. However, slogan of this one was very, very simple. Games are 60 minutes long. First half, if you're a Seattle Seahawks fan, you have to be panicking that you hired the wrong coach, at least specifically for the offensive coordinator position, and your team's dead. You really have to be worried. Gino did not look good in that first half. Made, I don't want to say boneheaded mistakes, but not good plays. Flustered, poor decision making. Kenneth Walker just could not do much of anything in the first half. Denver, 2 safeties. In the same half, they almost got a third in the first half. I was getting damn near close to panic mode with Seattle, where I'm very high on Seattle. I like Seattle. I think they're a wonderfully talented team. I think Mike McDonald is the right coach for them. And the first half of this game, I just went, ooh, I'm going to have to eat a lot of crow on that one. Second half, not so much. At the end of the first half, they started to come alive just a hair. You could see there was a little bit moving there where they were going to get a little bit better. Second half, Geno turned it on and showed why he is a quality starting quarterback in the league. Kenneth Walker got far more involved. They really committed far more to the run, which established that Geno could get the ball out and make some good plays, and he made some damn good throws. Some sideline catches by Tyler Lockett. Jackson Smith and Jigba got involved in a little bit. There was a good duel between DK Metcalf and Patrick Surtain the entire time. Bo Nix, of the rookie quarterbacks, probably outside of, I don't know, Jaden Daniels showed some function. Bo Nix did have a few moments where you're like, oh, okay. And then a few moments where you're like, ooh, he's limited. So it's going to be an interesting season for Denver watching Bo Nix hopefully develop a little bit more for that team. But we'll have to wait and see. Seattle showed a lot of character coming out. They got their asses handed to them in the first half. At least on offense. Their defense was wrecking shop. Great job on the Seattle defense. But the Seattle offense came to life in the second half, showed a lot of football character. Props to them. And they earned their win by kind of returning back to life here. And Geno Smith really, again, the haters wrote him off and he didn't write back kind of situation. So, interesting one there, to say the least. And moving forward, here was a really interesting game. Vegas Raiders at Los Angeles Chargers. Game slogan here, congrats, J.K. Dobbins, you have a heartbeat. Specifically, your career has a heartbeat. This was a huge bounce-back game for J.K. Dobbins, who I saw he's only really played like 5 games of his career in 3 years, which is very, very sad to have a player's career shortened that much by injury. He played really well, rushed for over 130 yards. A lot of the explosive plays on the Charger team were J.K. Dobbins kind of breaking it in the second half. The other thing I was going to say about this game is just keep matriculating the ball down the field, boys. Hank Stram style, because everything in both Vegas and Los Angeles, both offenses was small play, small play, small play, build, 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 build. There wasn't a lot of chunk plays. There wasn't a lot of downfield stretching. And then Dobbins gave him a few big runs to get them there and showed that he still has some life in those legs, which congrats to him. Harbaugh, defense really performed well. And this is exactly what I was talking about. Justin Herbert's not alone anymore. It doesn't feel like everything has to be Justin Herbert. He didn't play perfect, but it feels like some of the pressure's off, even with lesser talent at the wide receiver position around him, because there's going to be an establishment of the run. There's going to be balance on that team and really good, sound, fundamental football on the defensive side of the ball, which was completely true for the Chargers. Raiders, few downfield strikes that were nice, but other than that, their offense was wishy-washy. They'd get a play to Jacoby Myers, or they'd get a play to Devontae Adams, but then they'd cough it up with Zamir White. It was very strange, and Minshew had a few boneheaded mistakes here that just made no sense. That weird backward pass was straight up inept. Defense played pretty well, though, all things considered. They just couldn't hold it up with no help from their offense. You're going to need to clean that up. That's always been my concern with Vegas this year is, can you clean up your offense enough to help your defense? Your defense has pieces, but it can't hold up forever if they don't have help. So that's something they're going to have to fix moving forward. Vegas. They played better than I thought they would, but nonetheless. And we're going to go to many people's premier game, at least Fox's premier game of the week, Dallas at Cleveland. Man, it's gravestone time for Deshaun Watson. That's the slogan of this game. I wish I had something more positive to say about Cleveland. Their defense started really hot. That when it was, I think, 1st and 20, or 2nd and 20, something of that nature, and Dalvin Tomlinson just came and fucked Dak Prescott up. It was impressive. And you still saw moments where they were playing well, but they neutralized Myles Garrett defensively, at least Dallas did. And Dallas, once they got over those first drive jitters, their offense came to life and showed Dak Prescott trying to earn that contract. I don't think Dak played super impressive, but he played well and facilitated the ball pretty well. It was very obvious that that offense is still, let's get the ball to CD Lamb. Let's get the ball to CD Lamb. So they need to focus on getting the ball out of CD's hands, not because they don't want it in his hands, but if it's all CD, he's just going to get bracketed constantly. And you're going to hunt. He had a few impressive catches, a few impressive runs, but it can't all be CD Lamb. They need to figure that out. But going back to the slogan of this game, the Cleveland game, Deshaun Watson looked awful. He made a few throws that he was not making last year and the year prior when he played. So the arm is reviving a hair where it was so strange to watch because as someone who, I want to make it very clear again, I don't like Deshaun Watson as a human being, and I really don't appreciate Cleveland knowing the situation Deshaun Watson was in, still trading for him. That's just fan base suicide. I was a huge fan of Deshaun Watson in Houston. There were glimpses where his brain's telling him he can still do it, and he did. There was a few strikes outside, the throw to Jerry Jeudy on the outside for the touchdown, a few more plays in which there were good passes. And it doesn't look like he's afraid to run again, but he's still being a little bit more indecisive, so that's problematic. But there were so many moments where he just looked like a deer in the headlights. Like he didn't know what to do. He didn't know how to respond. Cleveland's going to need to ride the running back position a lot and get. It looked like their game plan was make Deshaun Watson quarterback, focus of the game. That cannot happen. They need to work more with Jerome Ford. And once they get Nick Chubb back in that lineup, they need to go more towards the running back position because, frankly, it's not going to work with Deshaun Watson at the quarterback position the way he's playing now. It's just not. It's going to be gravestone time for Deshaun Watson and the Cleveland Browns if they don't get this shit fixed. Straight up. And we're going to go now. Washington Commanders at Tampa Bay Buccaneers. A really interesting game here. Slogan of this one was very simple. Arr, we ain't dead yet. Myself included, so I'm calling myself out on this one. A lot of people believing that Tampa wasn't going to be able to perform without Dave Canales on that offense anymore, calling that offense as much anymore, and they were going to kind of just regress down to average and not above average. They said absolutely not. We are still a good team. Baker Mayfield played pretty well here, still hit Mike Evans and Chris Godwin, used his weapons really well. They took care of business against Washington. It's an inferior opponent, but nonetheless, they took care of business, and frankly, that puts them in the top third or fourth of the league right now because of many of the teams, even the great teams that we're seeing, didn't take care of their business the way they should have. Tampa did, and you have to give them credit for that. Washington, on the other hand, Jaden Daniels looked lively as a runner, a little overwhelmed as a passer. He had his moments, but he's going to need to develop a lot more passing-wise. Glad he used his legs. He needs to use them a little bit more selectively. There were times that he almost hesitated trying to throw, waiting. If you're going to run, run. If you have the explosive running ability that Jaden Daniels has. If you're going to pass, commit to it. But when you're looking, like when you don't want to pull the ball up to be ready to throw as you are running outwardly, but you're trying to also turn on the jets as if you're going to run, all a defender's going to do is get up in your face and force the issue. And too often he hesitated when he could have thrown a little pass over the top, thrown it away, or just commit to run and get a couple yards. He needs to commit to what he's doing, develop more as a passer. But there was life with Jaden Daniels, and at least Washington looked at moments functional here. And there could be a little bit of life in Washington, but Tampa took care of business, and they're certainly not dead yet. And as of right now, to me, it's obvious Tampa's the best team in that division. Atlanta looked pitiful. New Orleans looked great, but they were against Carolina, who looked absolutely brutal. So, and we know New Orleans trends, they trend downward during the season, they don't trend upward. So Tampa looks like still the cream of the crop down in that division. Power to them for getting the win. They should have, and they did it. They closed out their business. That makes them a better team a lot this week. And our final game, of week 1 to cover before we get into a little Monday Night Football is Rams at Detroit Lions. This was so much fun to watch. Quote of the year is, New Age rivalry? Every time these teams play, it's fun to watch. Stafford in Detroit, he always shows up a little bit, but both he and Jared Goff threw some costly interceptions at times that were just very surprising to see. But I loved this game because there was both a great defensive effort in which you could see both defenses were playing really well, but there was high-powered offenses to stop, and you're not going to stop them every time. I liked seeing what the Rams did. Cooper Kupp looks healthy and functional. Good for Cooper Kupp. That's great. And Puka Nacua. I think if Nacua stays in this game, the Rams probably pull this off. He was ruled out with that injury. He didn't want to. He wanted to keep going. They wouldn't let him. Kyron Williams looked good for the most part. Detroit, Jared Goff. When Detroit was stopped, it's the same problem with Jared Goff as always. Co-host Brandon brought this up back in a couple episodes ago. Jared Goff cannot play against interior pressure. When interior pressure was brought, Jared Goff collapsed. However, he did show up in a couple moments, distributed the ball pretty well. Jahmyr Gibbs and David Montgomery ran the ball pretty well, and the Detroit line held up extremely well. So this was a super fun overtime game, and another thing for Detroit, they got Jameson Williams involved in the game. I've been a huge supporter of Jameson Williams since he came out. He was my number 1 receiver in the 2022 draft. You can't teach speed. Cannot teach that. And what I loved was a commitment on his part, A, to get better, and B, Detroit understood how to use them properly. Do some end arounds, use some yak plays where it's designed to get him into the open field with an easy catch and break and run. Jameson Williams looked pretty damn good in this game, as did David Montgomery and Jahmyr Gibbs. Detroit looks real deal again, man. It's week 1. We'll see how it all goes. There are some problems to work out, but nonetheless, Detroit looks pretty damn good, and this was a really fun game to watch. So, highly, highly recommend you catch it if you can. And then we're going to go our final game. It's more of a preview than anything. I've already talked about it last week. I am excited to see Jets at San Francisco. What's going to be most interesting is how rusty are each of these teams. We saw teams like a Cincinnati, like a Buffalo to a degree, Miami here, high-powered teams that have good teams come out really rusty and play poorly. I'm a little concerned there may be some of that in San Francisco, and that could be a fun game here. And we're going to have to see how Aaron Rodgers plays. It's going to be fun and interesting to see that. I'm excited to watch it and see how it all goes, though. So hopefully we get a great game tonight. I'm still predicting a San Francisco win, which brings me to another fun part. Here on Far Out Football Podcast, I am picking every single game each week. And it's an experiment to see how accurate of a picker I am, as almost a gambling exercise. That's something I have done in the past. I highly recommend, if you're interested in gambling, especially with the prevalence of sports betting, do this for a couple weeks. See how accurate your picks are. See how good your intuition is. It's so often so many people think, oh, I know what I'm doing. And if they actually tracked their record, they'd have no goddamn idea. I have many friends who are like that. I also have friends who pick really, really well. So I give them credit on that one. This is a very fun exercise for me. Currently, I'm sitting at 9-6 this week, so I did decently well. I picked against Kansas City, which I never do. Thought Baltimore was going to play a little bit better. Picked Green Bay. I don't think that was a bad pick, but it bit me in the ass. But nonetheless, 9-6 pretty well so far. So we're going to continue and see what the overall record for Faro football is this year as well. And some other great notes about Week 1. Loved seeing the impact of special teams. So many field goals. So many field goals. Looking at you, Pittsburgh. Plus, I loved the kickoff and punt return games. It was great to see the return game be impactful again. I loved seeing that. DJ Dallas with that return in the Arizona-Buffalo game was tremendous. Some good punt returns from Cleveland and Dallas. A couple other really good punt returns in this week's play. I'm glad that special teams matters more than just the kicking game again. Glad that the return game, and a lot of people are like, oh, what are you talking about? So many plays, it was just, kick it out of the end zone. Yeah, there are a lot of teams that are trying to do that. but you're already seeing so many more returns than we did last year. That's so much better, and it allows the game to be far more exciting, and I'm excited to see it. And I hope you're excited to see the next episode of the Far Out Football Podcast, or listen to it wherever you can. If you do want to check it out, you know what you should do? You should go check out our other platforms, man. Check us out on YouTube and Spotify. All of our podcasts are over on Spotify. All of our content can be found on YouTube. Plus, you can check out our socials, TikTok, Instagram, and now we're on Threads. We're trying out Threads to be a little bit more fun with you guys. Check those out to stay in touch and see a little bit shorter content. Have some fun with us there. Watch the rest of our weekly programming. Monday and Thursday, you're going to get Far Out Football Podcast like you did today. The ONETA Show comes back Tuesday. We're doing some rankings on that show. Wednesday, we're going to get some new Pokemon on the Pokemon Bliss Oblivion Project. Some more fun art designs and more Pokemon merch going there. Friday, you're going to get a nice Pokemon card pack opening as the new Stellar Crown set is coming out this Friday. Saturday, we're covering Monty Python and the Holy Grail as part of the Cult Classic series on the Wisco Movie Watchers podcast. Because now Far Out Football, not the ONETA Football Show, and just like that, the ONETA Movie Show is no more. It's the Wisco Movie Watchers podcast. It's going to be a lot of fun. Check us out there. Plus, if you want to support us even more, head on over to our Etsy shop. Go to etsy.com/shop/PTE Creative. Get yourself some cool merch, all revolving around the shows. Go support a local artist as best you possibly can and help us out. And a reminder, please, if you're a small-time creator, comment on this. Subscribe to the channel. Let me give you a shout-out. I want to do it. Please do that. But that has been all for today on the Far Out Football Podcast. Thank you guys so much for watching or listening. We'll be back on Thursday with some previews of Week 2's games. I'll catch y'all later. Peace, love, and hugs to you all. Bye!